Hi, welcome to the second video in Module 2 of Student Success Strategies, Tools for Top Achievers in College and Beyond. In the last video, we discussed setting objectives and establishing key result metrics to measure how successfully we accomplished those objectives. In this video, we will discuss the planning process and road mapping that will translate those high-level goals into more tangible and contextual milestones to reach. Plans are of little consequence, but planning is essential. Winston Churchill said that. Plans need to be flexible, and the pitfall that many organizations, teams, and individuals fall into is they stick to a plan even after they realize the plan won't work. Plans that don't respond to new information or changing environments are useless and will set you up for failure. We're not doing that here. Our planning is designed to visualize the work you need to get done, allowing you to be more aware and understand how you will be able to reach your goals. So, our plans are easy to change, adaptable, and set you up for success as the environment changes and new information comes to light. Sound fair? Our planning process is time-based, meaning we are setting our horizon in chunks of time. This is usually in 3 to 4 month periods, and as a student, aligning it with your semester makes a lot of sense. So if we base our planning horizon on the semester or terms, that should be between 4 to 5 months. There will be a fall term, let's say August to December, winter term, January to May, and summer. There are reading weeks, holidays, and various times classes won't be running, but for our purposes, that doesn't matter. Let's focus on 20 weeks or 5 months as our time frame. For the winter term, that could start in the middle of January and run to the end of May. You can adjust this as required in your case, but the process is the same. Now that we have 20 weeks laid out, we are going to break those 20 weeks into 2-week chunks. These 2-week chunks are going to be the sprints of effort that you are going to execute on, like quarters in football or basketball or legs in a relay race. 20 divided by 2 is 10, a nice round number. For this next step, you can do this on a whiteboard, a virtual whiteboard like Miro, or a piece of paper. But I want you to have 10 columns left to right, representing each 2-week sprint. Based on the information you have, you should know when your major assignments are due. These are the papers, the labs, the presentations that you will need to complete or deliver on. Your exams should also be known. Maybe not the exact date, but you know when the exam weeks are, usually at the end of the semester. Take a sticky note, colors are great in this process, and stick it in the 2-week chunk when the assignment, lab, or exams are due. If you're using a piece of paper, draw a box and label it. Every school describes its course load or credits a little differently, and each student may be taking a slightly heavier or lighter course load per semester. For this example, I'm going to describe 5 classes, and your situation may vary. I will put 5 exam sticky notes, or boxes, in the last sprint, sprint number 10. I will place 5 essay sticky notes or boxes in sprint 5, as there will likely be a major assignment due at that time. You might have more or less or different assignments, but this will illustrate the point. Starting with the 5 assignments in sprint number 5, let's break down one of those assignments into smaller chunks. Each essay will require reading and research before you start writing, which is going to be a new sticky note. Use different colors if you can. If you are using paper, let's use circles to denote these elements, as major assignments are squares. So, research is a sticky note. An outline for the paper is a sticky note. The draft essay is a sticky note. And the final draft is a sticky note, or circle for all of those using paper. So that gives us 4 pieces that make up completing the assignment. Keeping in mind that we want to deliver value early and often, we can begin the first step, research, within the first sprint. We are going to place that sticky note, or circle for those on paper, in the first sprint. What this means is that we are setting ourselves the goal of completing that piece of work within the first 2 weeks of the semester. That may not be realistic for you for any number of reasons, but follow along here and we can adjust after. Once you have your research complete, you can form an outline of what you want to write about. This will be a rough framework of the assignment and the ideas you'll express. I imagine many of you can do that fairly quickly, but as part of this process, I want you to get feedback on your idea from the instructor or professor. This means that as part of creating your outline, you need to test its value with feedback from your customer, in this case, your instructor or professor. That will add time to the process, which is why we are going to do it in sprint number 2. Once your outline is complete with feedback, you can begin writing your draft paper. Some take longer than others. The length, complexity of the ideas, and your objective when it comes to the grade are all elements that will add to the workload. We are going to add this to sprint number 3. Drafts are filled with errors, grammatical, structural, and have lots of room for improvement. That is why an entire sprint is dedicated to the final draft. This is where you read, reread, and have others read your draft to help you polish your ideas into an A+ document. This will take you to the sprint where you submit your essay. Now, we are going to add a little cherry on your sundae. All those steps we discussed are sequential, meaning you can't do step 4 before step 1. You can't polish your final draft before you've done the research to create the outline. You need the outline to effectively write a good first draft, and without a foundational first draft, polishing the final paper into an A+ document would be very difficult. So, these elements happen in sequence and are dependent on the step that came before. We are going to connect these steps with red lines or arrows in Miro. These red lines represent critical dependencies where one step cannot occur without the others that precede it. Now that we have that done for the paper in class number 1, we can continue this process with all the assignments in the other classes. You may choose to create rows or lanes for each class so that you can appreciate which assignments are connected to which subjects or classes you're taking. Something to note. We did not add critical dependencies, those red lines with arrows, to any of the exams at the end of the year. That's because writing the exam is not dependent on any other work in the semester. Of course, you may want to study for your exam, and therefore you can add sticky notes or circles, if you're following along on paper, to represent the study time you will need prior to the exam. Maybe you add a study time in sprint number 9 and 10 prior to the exam. These aren't critical dependencies. That exam happens whether you are ready to write it or not, but they are connected. Connections like this are represented with normal black lines that connect your sticky notes. And there we have it. It takes some time to practice this, and in more advanced sessions, we can make this more granular or detailed. But for our purposes today, this will do as our minimum viable product, or MVP, when it comes to road mapping. In the next video, we are going to explore breaking down work into manageable chunks and something called stories.